Um, Imagine you are running a business, like right now.
Right.
Your sales just doubled. The last 12 months were incredible.
You're crushing it.
Yeah, you are drowning in new orders. Your frontline staff is, working overtime. So you make the call.
You scale up.
Exactly. You hire a new middle manager. You need them to handle the volume. You literally pop the champagne.
It's the ultimate victory, right?
That's what you tell your investors. You say, look, we successfully scaled, but what if I told you that the exact second that new manager sits down at their desk, mathematically, your company just started bleeding money?
It completely shatters the dream. I mean, it's a total face slap.
It is.
Yeah.
It violates everything we are taught.
Right, because we're taught that growth is this smooth upward slope. More sales just automatically mean a healthier business.
Which is common sense.
Yeah.
If I sell double the product, the money in the bank goes up.
But when you strip away the corporate PR, right, when you look at the microscopic hour-by-hour data of how a company actually operates, growth is not a smooth slope at all.
It's a violent restructuring.
Extremely violent and dangerous. We confuse scale with efficiency.
So on this deep dive, we're unpacking this massive, completely groundbreaking study. And it reveals this invisible, brutal force.
Right. Economists call it organizational friction.
Organizational friction. And the data here is just, it proves that the exact moment your company expands, the moment you add that management layer, your revenue productivity doesn't just stall.
It falls off a cliff.
It plummets.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to push back here. From a business owner's perspective, this sounds insane.
It sounds totally wrong.
Right. Because if my profit margin per unit drops the day I hire a floor supervisor, my board is going to fire me.
Exactly. You'd think there's a flaw in the math, or maybe this only happens to poorly run companies.
Right. So who actually has the audacity to rewrite these rules? Who is claiming this?
Well, the skepticism is why this research is so bulletproof. We aren't looking at some random survey. We're looking at 4 heavyweight economists.
World-class think tank level?
Exactly. Lorenzo Caliendo from Yale, Giordano Mion from Sussex,
Luca David Opromolla from the Bank of Portugal,
and Esteban Rossi-Hansberg from Princeton. These guys didn't just interview a few disgruntled CEOs. They built what is basically an economic documentary.
And we need to define that because usually economic data is just, a snapshot. It's an industry average.
Yeah, it's very easy to hide bad management behind a good quarter.
But they bypassed the quarterly reports completely.
They secured access to the entire Portuguese manufacturing sector. Not a sample, the whole thing.
For a full decade.
From 1995 to 2005.
Like 10 years of every single manufacturing business in a whole European country.
The amount of data is terrifying.
It's paralyzing. I mean, how do you even categorize that?
By using a government surveillance system for corporate accounting that is just unmatched, they merged 3 massive databases.
Right, so database number 1, the Quadros de Pessoal.
Yes, it's an annual mandatory census. Every single firm in Portugal with at least 1 employee has to report in.
So it tracks the companies. Does it track the actual people?
It tracks the people with extreme precision. Every individual worker.
Wow.
It logs their job title, their education level, the exact hours they worked, and their exact hourly wage.
Wait, I need to pause here. Because that level of detail changes everything.
It strips the company naked.
Yeah. You aren't just looking at payroll expenses. It's like a 10-year 4K security camera on every single paycheck.
You see the exact day a factory worker gets a 20-cent raise.
Or the exact month a new vice president is hired.
Every promotion. Every demotion. But human data alone doesn't prove organizational friction.
So they interlocked it with database number 2.
The Central de Balanços. This is the financial vault. Balance sheets, material costs, assets, raw revenue.
Okay, so now we have the humans and the money. I see what the worker got paid, and I see the revenue the company made that exact same year.
But you still need the physical reality. Database 3.
The Inquérito Anual a Produção Industrial.
Yes. The physical production survey. It counts the actual output.
It physically counts the items.
Exactly. It knows exactly how many knitted cardigans or leather shoes were loaded onto the delivery trucks.
Okay, the gears are clicking into place for me. You have the human brain power crossed with the financial paper trail, crossed with the actual physical items leaving the factory.
There is nowhere for the corporate PR spin to hide.
So if a CEO gives a big speech, right, saying, oh, our new management structure empowered everyone and boosted efficiency.
You just look at the data. Did the workers get paid more? Did they actually make more shoes?
Yeah, and the truth is mathematically locked in. We're talking over 300,000 firm-year observations.
It leaves zero room for assumptions. And when you run this microdata, a completely counterintuitive reality emerges.
Walk me into this reality. I want to build a hypothetical company to ground this. Let's find the exact moment the money starts bleeding.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's say you own a shoe factory. You make basic leather boots. Demand is spiking. Things are amazing. You need to grow. What are your options?
Well, you face the expansion crossroads. There are two paths. Path A is growth without reorganization.
So I just refuse to change my hierarchy.
Right. You have frontline workers and you are the boss. When demand spikes, you just tell your current staff to work longer hours.
Or I just hire 5 more frontline guys for the assembly line. I'm just widening the base. No new bosses.
Exactly. Under Path A, the data paints a very comforting picture. Your value added per worker goes up smoothly.
I sell more boots. I make more money per person. The chart goes up.
It's the conventional expectation.
So why would anyone ever leave past A?
Because the chaos becomes unmanageable. You get too many workers, too many machines breaking down. The sheer volume forces you onto Path B.
Reorganization.
Yes. You add a brand new layer of management, a dedicated floor supervisor.
Okay, I leveled up. I'm a real corporation now.
And this is the moment the data screams a warning. The Portuguese microdata shows that the instant you add that manager, your value added per worker drastically drops.
Wait, stop. I'm pushing back hard on this.
I know, it feels wrong.
I'm selling double the boots. My factory is humming. The supervisor is supposedly organizing the floor so people work faster. How is my team suddenly performing worse on the balance sheet?
It makes zero sense, right? It creates massive cognitive dissonance. You are moving more physical product than ever before.
But internally, I'm experiencing this invisible blood loss.
Your revenue efficiency plunges. You are extracting less money per unit of input than when you were a smaller operation.
So the act of hiring a boss literally makes my whole operation financially weaker on paper.
It introduces us to the golden paradox, the ultimate mind bender.
Tell me about this paradox. How can I become better at making things but look poorer?
Because your company's reality splits in two. First, look at physical productivity. Let's ignore money completely.
Just raw output. Making boots.
Economists call this TFPQ, physical efficiency, how fast you turn raw leather into boots per hour of labor.
When I add that manager, what happens to my physical efficiency?
It jumps by about 3 to 8%.
Oh, wow. So the manager's actually doing their job. They smooth out the supply chain, fix the stitching machines faster. I'm 8% better at making boots.
It's a physical miracle. Reorganization works. Mechanically, you are a beast. But here comes the collision with reality.
The money side.
Right. At the exact same time your factory becomes 8% better physically, your revenue productivity TFPR crashes by about 7%.
That is just, it's insane. I'm up 8% in boots, but down 7% in money extracted.
It's the brutal logic of volume. You built a hyper-efficient factory. You are churning out a massive volume of boots, but your local town only needs so many boots.
Right. If I want to sell all this new inventory, I have to find thousands of new customers. Next city over, maybe next country.
And how do you convince a brand new market to buy your boots instead of their usual brand?
I have to slash my prices.
Exactly. You hit the core friction. Your new, massive organizational machine is suddenly too big for your old market.
Factory must be fed.
To move that sheer volume, you drop the price tag. You sacrifice your profit margin per unit to become this volume-producing juggernaut.
So I am hyper-efficient physically, but I'm financially bruised.
You're making less money off every hour of labor simply because the final product has to be sold cheaper.
This reframes everything. Like when a CEO boasts on stage about expanding divisions, the shareholders applaud.
But the accountants are panicking. They know the margin is shrinking.
And the accountants are panicking because of the jagged, ugly truth of hiring. You call it a lumpy investment.
Yes, a discontinuous organization. Let's look at the math. Say your sales go up by exactly 10%.
In a perfect world, I just want 10% more management capacity to handle it.
Right, you want to hire 0.1 of a manager.
But I can't hire half a CEO. I can't hire a fraction of a person.
Human beings don't come in fractions. You have to hire a whole person with a whole salary and a whole benefits package.
Which means the cost curve isn't a smooth slide.
It's a jagged staircase. Think of it like buying an industrial bakery oven.
Okay, I love this analogy. Let's switch to a bakery. I'm baking bread.
You have a small oven. It fits exactly 100 loaves. Suddenly, demand goes up to 110 loaves a day.
But I can't buy 10% of an oven.
You have to buy a massive commercial-grade oven that holds 500 loaves. It takes immense electricity. It takes up half your floor space.
And I'm turning on this giant, expensive machine just to bake 10 extra loaves of bread.
Exactly. So for a long time, that massive oven is going to feel like a catastrophic mistake.
It's just like the 50-seater bus. It's like buying a 50-seater bus because your family had a fourth kid.
Yes. At the exact moment you cross that threshold and add the manager, that manager is uselessly large for your current size. You are massively overpaying for capacity you don't fully need yet.
The new boss is a massive fixed cost. And I'm spreading that heavy cost over sales that haven't quite caught up yet. So my average cost per unit spikes, and my paper profitability violently drops.
You bought the giant oven. It takes years of growth before you're baking enough bread to justify the electricity bill.
This forces a super uncomfortable question.
What's that?
If managers ruin the profit margins, and they force me to drop my prices, and they're just giant financial burdens, why do they even exist? What is the actual purpose of a boss?
We have to completely dismantle the stereotype of a boss.
Because, spoiler alert, it is not to tell people what to do.
No. The data points to a concept called the knowledge-based hierarchy.
Explain the pyramid.
The economic reality of a manager is reactive, not proactive. Look at the front line of your factory. The workers spend their time physically interacting with materials.
Stitching leather, gluing soles.
But physical production is chaotic. It constantly generates unexpected problems.
The leather is too thick today. The glue won't dry because it's humid.
Right. Now, if the frontline worker has the knowledge to fix the tension on the machine, they solve the problem and production continues.
But what if they don't know the answer? What if they encounter a problem they've never seen?
The assembly line grinds to a halt. They stand there. The company stops making products.
Unless they have a mechanism to bypass their own ignorance.
The problem travels up the pyramid. They flag down the supervisor.
So the manager doesn't produce anything.
Managers produce zero physical output. A manager's sole economic value is acting as an ignorance absorber.
An ignorance absorber. That is such a powerful phrase.
They hold a reservoir of high-level knowledge that the front line doesn't have. Their entire job is to kill the exceptions so the front line can get back to mindless, efficient production.
So I endure the financial pain of the jagged staircase. I buy the giant oven specifically to acquire that specialized knowledge.
It's a defense mechanism against chaos.
But wait, the supervisor doesn't know everything either. If the supervisor can't fix the glue, what happens?
The problem travels up again. To the regional director, the VP, and eventually it hits the most terrifying bottleneck in all of business.
The CEO's desk.
The absolute limit of any company is the biological clock of the person at the very top. The economists use a brutal time constraint formula. NLL equals 1.
Okay, translate the math for me. What does that mean in reality?
It means no matter how massive the corporation is, you only get one top manager, one CEO. You can't copy a fraction of a giant corporate pyramid down to a small company. Every company has exactly one human being with 24 hours in a day at the top.
So as the shoe company scales to 10 factories, the workers generate 10 times as many problems. The easy ones get filtered, but the unprecedented problems all funnel straight to that one human bottleneck.
And the CEO starts drowning. They're getting calls at 2 a.m. about supply chains 3 time zones away. They are suffocating under a tidal wave of unsolved frontline problems.
So the CEO hits their biological limit. They have to make a drastic choice to survive.
They're back at the expansion crossroads, path A or path B.
Let's look at path A again. The CEO refuses to hire middle managers. They want a flat structure. How do they stop the problems from hitting their desk without a shield?
The only way is to make sure the problem gets solved at the bottom. The frontline worker has to know the answer.
Oh, so I can't have ignorant workers.
Exactly. If you refuse to build a hierarchy, you must fire your average laborers. You must hire hyper-smart, incredibly experienced workers who never ask questions.
I have to replace my $20 stitchers with $50 master craftsmen.
The knowledge requirements skyrocket. Wages skyrocket in tandem. The CEO is basically buying their time back by paying a massive premium for genius-level frontline staff.
But that's unsustainable. If I want a global mass market brand, I can't staff 10 factories exclusively with master craftsmen. I'd go bankrupt.
Which is the forcing function that pushes almost everyone onto Path B reorganization. You add the middle management layer. But the data reveals a completely counterintuitive reality about what happens next.
What happens when the manager arrives?
Adding a manager allows the company to actively dumb down its frontline workforce.
Dumbing down the front line? That sounds like sabotage. Why would I want less skilled workers?
Because of the shield. The middle manager is right there on the floor absorbing the problems. So the frontline worker no longer needs to know how to fix the machine.
The worker just needs to pull the lever and yell for the boss when it breaks.
The knowledge requirement at the bottom drops to near zero.
So the company fires the expensive master craftsman and hires vastly cheaper, less knowledgeable workers.
The manager acts as a shield, allowing the use of cheap labor at the bottom.
I am connecting this to corporate rhetoric right now. Bosses always promise that scaling up will make everyone rich. A rising tide lifts all boats. But the data proves they are lying.
The microdata proves it is mathematically false for the average worker. When a company adds a management layer, the average wage of the existing layers universally drops.
So getting a new boss literally makes my specific job worth less.
It's a ruthless reshuffling of compensation.
Give me a specific example. Show me this cheap substitution happening to real people.
The researchers tracked a specific footwear company. They make women's Leathertown footwear. In 1998, they had 71 workers across 3 layers. The boss, the middle managers, and 56 frontline shoemakers.
A healthy mid-sized operation.
But the market turns against them. Demand drops. They lose 10% of their value added. They have to shrink.
They amputate a layer.
Yes, they drop from 3 layers to 2. They fire the middle managers and reduce headcount to 58.
The company is bleeding. They're doing layoffs. The vibe must be incredibly grim. I'd assume wages freeze or everyone takes a pay cut.
The data reveals the exact opposite.
Wait, really?
The median wage of the frontline shoemakers who survived the layoffs went up by 8%.
What?
And the layer directly above them saw their wages spike by 23%.
I need a second to process that. The company is losing money. They fired the management team. But the factory floor workers got massive raises. How can they afford that?
Because the shield is gone. The middle managers were fired. The CEO is exposed to the raw chaos again. To survive, the CEO has to rely on the frontline workers to solve their own problems.
The workers have to fix the machines themselves again.
They hold more critical knowledge now. They're part-time problem solvers. Because their knowledge burden increased, their economic value increased. The company has to pay them more.
This is a staggering realization. When the company booms and hires a manager, my wage drops because my brain is no longer needed. I'm just hands. But when the company fails and fires the manager, my wage goes up because they're desperate for my brain power.
Growth steals your intellectual value. Contraction returns it. That's the inescapable gravity of the knowledge pyramid.
Let me challenge the pyramid itself, though. We talk about it like it's a law of physics, bottom, middle, top. Is it possible it's just a cultural artifact? Just corporate stereotypes?
The researchers asked that exact question. Is it a metaphor or an empirical reality? They mapped the hours worked and wages paid across hundreds of thousands of firms.
And what did the data say? Is it undeniably real?
It is a perfect mathematical shape. In over 75% of firms, it's an ironclad rule. The lowest layer works the longest absolute hours and gets the lowest hourly pay.
The foundation. Lots of time, pennies for pay.
As you move up, managers work fewer absolute hours but extract a higher wage.
And the top layer.
Executives work the fewest absolute hours of anyone but extract the absolute highest pay.
It's jarring how neatly reality matches the bleakest stereotypes. The people sweating for 12 hours get pennies. The people working 6 hours in the corner office take the gold.
It proves that defining management levels isn't just HR jargon. The economics of time and money perfectly match the job descriptions.
Okay, the pyramid is real. But is it carved in stone?
Yeah.
Like, once you build it, does it just sit there for decades?
Not at all. Look at the 10-year security footage. Corporate structure is a violent, shifting liquid.
Liquid enterprises. The Great Migration.
The mutation rate is staggering. Every single year, roughly 20% of all firms undergo a massive structural mutation.
1 in 5 companies totally rebuilds its pyramid every 12 months. Are they growing or shrinking?
It's balanced on a nice edge. Roughly 12% add a layer. They buy the industrial oven. But another 12% amputate a layer. They hack off middle management to survive a shock.
So companies are constantly breathing, expanding, contracting. Millions of workers getting new bosses or watching bosses get fired.
Because stillness equals death. If your market changes and you refuse to alter your pyramid, organizational friction will destroy you.
Let's talk about that friction again. The math proof that middle management kills paper profitability. You mentioned a 7% drop. How can economists isolate the arrival of one manager and blame them for the drop? There's so much noise in a business.
They filter the noise using a brutal statistical tool, the Wooldridge TFP estimation model.
Okay, translate that into human English. No academic jargon. How does the filter work?
It's an isolation chamber for data. It mathematically strips away all corporate excuses. It controls for past productivity, so you can't blame historical laziness. It controls for industry trends.
So if leather gets more expensive globally, that noise is stripped away.
Exactly. It creates a vacuum where the only variable left is the organizational chart.
And in that vacuum, what happens?
The data screams. Adding one layer significantly drops revenue TFP by roughly 6 to 8%. It's a ruthless suppression.
Wait, I know you're looking at the data. But if it undeniably drops profitability, why on earth do companies keep doing it voluntarily? Are CEOs just economically irrational?
They are completely rational because they are chasing the physical miracle.
The physical superpower. Making more stuff.
Yes. But measuring that physical jump was the ultimate technical hurdle. How do you separate a truly efficient company from a company that just sells overpriced luxury goods?
Ah, right. If Factory A makes 10,000 basic backpacks for $20 each, and Factory B makes one designer handbag for $200,000.
Traditional metrics are blind. If you just look at revenue, the handbag company looks like an absolute productivity genius. They made 200 grand with barely any leather.
So how do you strip away the price tag? Can't you just count the physical items?
Counting fails if a factory makes cheap boots and expensive boots on the same line. You need to see the naked physical reality without the sticker price bias. And they didn't always have the exact price data for every shoe.
How do you measure price without the price tag?
They used a cutting-edge methodological magic bullet called IMU-LAMA.
New-LAMA. I assume that's an acronym. Strip away the jargon. How does it work?
It reverse engineers the physical volume. It looks at the raw materials going in the leather, the rubber, and the cash coming out. By comparing your input to revenue ratio against market averages, IMU-LAMA mathematically isolates the price premium your brand charges.
It calculates how much of my revenue is just me inflating the price because of my fancy logo.
Exactly. It strips away the marketing illusion. It isolates the pure, naked physical efficiency of the factory floor.
And once the price illusion is stripped away, what's the truth?
The vindication of the middle manager. Adding a layer genuinely supercharges physical production efficiency by 3 to 8%.
The division of labor is a superpower. You hire the ignorance absorber, the front line stops worrying about broken machines, and they become lightning fast.
You sacrifice your profit margin to become a volume-producing juggernaut.
But I have to play devil's advocate. We have a classic chicken and egg problem here.
The causality suspicion.
Right. Did the company get smarter and faster first, which generated enough cash to afford a manager? Or did the manager arrive first and cause the workers to get faster?
The economists knew the academic world would attack them on this, so they used brutal statistical tests. 2 SLS, two-stage least squares.
Break that down. How do you lock down the causality?
You need an external shock. An event that forces a company to reorganize but has nothing to do with how smart they are internally. They looked at wild swings in global real exchange rates.
Like currency fluctuations?
Yes. Imagine your Portuguese factory sells to Germany. Suddenly, through pure macroeconomic luck, the exchange rate shifts. Portuguese goods become incredibly cheap for German buyers.
They double their orders overnight.
Exactly. Your factory didn't get smarter. You just got lucky. But that massive wave of orders forces you to expand. You have to hire a new management layer to handle the volume.
So they separated the lucky growers from the smart growers. What was the verdict?
Ironclad. Even when reorganization is triggered purely by an external random currency shock, the exact moment the manager arrives, physical productivity jumps and revenue productivity drops.
The causal chain reaction is locked. Reorganization causes the shift.
And if you want to see this pushed to the absolute breaking point, we have to look at what happens when a global superpower decimates your industry.
The storm arrives. The China shock.
The 2001 WTO natural experiment.
Right. China enters the World Trade Organization.
Prior to that, there were strict quotas limiting Chinese textiles in Europe. When China entered the WTO, those quotas were abolished.
A tidal wave of cheap clothing flooded the market.
EU imports of Chinese textiles spiked by 240%.
240%, that's an annihilation event.
Portuguese firms faced a terrifying 24% drop in demand almost overnight.
So how did these liquid enterprises react? Let's look at a case study.
A specific Portuguese sweater factory. Sales cut exactly in half. They fired 27 people, keeping only 10. They amputated an entire layer of management.
They shrank to the bare studs just to survive.
Now, what do you think happened to their physical efficiency?
It has to plummet. The ignorance absorbers are gone. The sewers are running around trying to fix their own machine.
Exactly. Physical efficiency plummeted by a staggering 53%.
They're half as good at making sweaters. But what happened to their revenue efficiency?
The ultimate face slap. As the company bled out, its revenue efficiency miraculously spiked by 19%.
Wait, they are dying. They fired everyone. How are they 19% more efficient at making money on paper?
Because shrinking made them artificially look highly profitable per worker. The massive overhead of the managers was gone, and they couldn't compete on volume anymore, so they pivoted to high-priced niche items.
So they produced vastly fewer sweaters, charged a premium, and the financial X-ray declared them absolute geniuses.
When you grow, you look physically strong but financially weak. When you shrink, you look physically weak but financially strong.
This explains why stock prices jump when tech companies announce massive layoffs of middle managers. Wall Street is looking at that artificial revenue efficiency spike.
And this leads to another wild phenomenon that directly hits the consumer: abnormal price pass-through.
How a microscopic tremor explodes the price tag on the shelf. Break down normal cost pass-through first.
Normally, if the leather for your boots goes up by $1, you pass some of that cost to the consumer. Normal pass-through is 0.6 to 0.9.
So I raise the retail price by maybe 80 cents and eat the 20-cent loss to keep my customers.
Exactly. But the researchers uncovered something terrifying. The second a firm crosses the threshold of adding or dropping a layer, the pass-through skyrockets past 1.
Wait, it goes over 1.
It hits 1.3 or 1.5.
So the leather goes up by $1 and I raise the boot price by $1.50. Why would I punish the consumer more than the market demands?
Because you aren't just reacting to the leather anymore. You are reacting to the jagged staircase.
The massive industrial oven.
Yes. Imagine you are perfectly balanced on the edge of needing a new manager. A tiny tremor hits. Demand ticks up 1%. That tiny tremor is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
It forces me over the edge. I have to buy the giant oven. I have to hire the manager.
Then that manager is a massive, discontinuous shock to your costs. To cover that massive new salary, you drastically alter your retail prices.
So a tiny change in costs triggered a violent restructuring, which caused wild price swings.
The consumer pays for the organizational friction.
That is going to change how I look at every price tag. But let's zoom out to the global tragedy here. Why developing nations stay small?
This is the invisible hand holding back the developing world.
Right. Why do firms in India or Mexico survive for decades but never grow into global giants?
Organizational friction. Building a large pyramid requires intense trust, strong contracts, and a reliable legal system.
Because the CEO is handing immense power to these middle managers.
Exactly. If the legal system is weak, the CEO can't trust the manager not to steal the profits or ruin the company. The friction of trust is simply too high.
The institutional risk of betrayal.
So the CEO refuses to grow. They stay at 0 or 1 management layers forever. They are permanently trapped in miniature bodies.
Unable to scale and unlock that physical superpower. Millions of companies trapped as dwarfs.
It dictates the wealth of nations.
We have been on an incredible journey today. We saw how adding layers creates physical superpowers but causes financial shockwaves. How it rewires the wages of everyone inside.
Punishing the old workers, enriching the new bosses.
We saw companies amputate limbs to survive China and whole nations trapped by friction. But I want to end with the ultimate unanswered question.
The provocative final thought.
Right. We established that human middle managers are ignorance absorbers. They solve problems. Now look at artificial intelligence entering the workforce today.
The ultimate knowledge reservoir.
AI isn't a frontline worker. It's a problem solver.
Right.
It digests manuals, troubleshoots code. It is designed to assassinate the middle management layer.
And an API call doesn't require a massive fixed salary. It doesn't create the jagged staircase.
You don't have to buy the giant oven. So here's the question for you to take away. If the entire global corporate pyramid is suddenly flattened by algorithms, what happens?
Will it unleash a terrifying new wave of pure physical efficiency, allowing companies to scale infinitely without the financial drop?
Or, if the knowledge hierarchy loses its human layer, does the AI hoard all the knowledge at the absolute top? Will it tear the entire fabric of corporate structure and wages apart?
It's an existential question for the workforce. the rules will be rewritten overnight.
Keep questioning the obvious, everyone. See you next time on The Deep Dive.